Right, boys, today I'm going to talk about the 3 best specs for PvP in Project Epoch. Now, I'm talking about world PvP, mainly, just solo world PvP. My credentials are, I'm a 2.6k rated arena player, 3k mythic plus in retail when I was playing, rank 1 parser in classic. I'm not the best player in the world, but I know what I'm talking about. If you disagree with anything I'm going to say, put it down in the comments and let's have a discussion. All right, let's start with the arms and prot. This one is probably going to be the best one that you can go for, in my opinion. We go for the parry. We go for the 15% stun resist. You can combine that with the orc ratio, and that's going to be 30%, which is absolutely ridiculous. These are just the standard ones. Don't really need anger management since we're running endless raid. Impale, two-handed. You want to go for the axe spec here because you're running revenge stun, right? People do want to go, some people want to go for the slam. I think it's garbage in PvP. You don't really have the uptime to do it. In a perfect scenario, you can sit there and slam all the time, but that's most of the time not going to happen. We go for improved hamstring. I like that better than the slam. Obviously the intercept, these two, and then blaze storm. Now we go for tactical mastery. Now what they changed from classic to TPC is that you get 10 rage when you stand swap. With this, you keep 25 rage. You need this for spell reflect. Now, not everyone knows this, but with 100 shield, you press shield block, you get an instant revenge, right? That one stuns, okay? Well, 45% chance to stun. That's typically why you don't go for the mace spec. You can, if you want. I would run the X spec for this one and change to the mace spec for another one. Obviously, you run last stand. That's amazing in open world, just solo PvP. So yeah, this is the blaze storm spec, right? Now, this is the other spec you can go for. This is more of a single target training spec. Now, since you can be slowed in a blade storm, this might not be too bad. And also you got enrage, but at the same time, you don't got enough survivability as much as you have here. Here, you go for the mace spec, right? That's the only stun you have. And also you don't go for endless rage here, so you're kind of lacking the rage. You get piercing howl, which is amazing. Blood craze, you heal more, and you go for the mace spec, so you get more rage with a mace. However, you are missing, obviously, last stand, revenge stun, blade storm, and endless rage, which are quite huge. So you can, do either one. And here's the last one. So this one, I think, is going to be crazy good too. You could swap out, you could run this and drop endless rage. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably go for this. Now, the bad thing about this is you lose your 5% crit, but you're just taking this instead of the blaze storm. All right, let's do paladins. So this is probably the Crusader Strike build that I'd probably go for. You can drop these 3 points because most PvPers will probably go for the orc ratio, right? That's 15% stun reduction alongside with their talent. For example, we got 10% here, so we got 25%. That makes this talent not as good, okay? So you can put these whatever. If you want to take less critical strike damage against you, go for that. If you want to go for vindication, go for that. So yeah, just choose what you want your playstyle to be. They implemented in TBC that your seals can't be dispelled, which is crazy. A very standard build. I think this is probably going to be your best one because they buffed Crusader Strike. Now it's holy damage. So Crusader Strike is probably going to be doing a chunk of damage. Oh, also, Crusade, some people would say go for improved Sanctity Aura because obviously it is 1% more damage. So it's the same as this one, right? But a lot of the time, you're not going to have that up all the time. So it's a selfish reason to take this instead of that. But you could drop 2 of the Crusade and go for improved Sanctity Aura. But obviously, you need to have that up all the time. If you're chasing someone down with Crusader Aura, you won't have it up. So I'd rather go for that for selfish reasons. Now, here's the Reckoning build I would go for. And I think this one will still be very good. A lot of people talk about Crusader Strike as if that's going to be the best one. I'm not so sure. If you're not really good at seal twisting, just go for the other one. Now, what I really like about the Reckoning build is this one. 6% stamina is quite huge. Divine Shield, cooldown reduction by 60 seconds, which is nice. But the last one I really like. it takes away the 100% attack speed penalty. You need 1 point from Crusade to be able to go to the 30 tree. So you could only put 1 point here. But again, just selfish reasons. You could go for deflection. That's 3% parry. But the problem with it is when you're using Reckoning, you don't really want to get parry hasted because it might ruin your Wreck Bomb. So you could change these 3 points and go for Seal of the Crusader. Now, with the Holy Paladin, this is just the standard build. You don't really want to go anything else. You want to go for the stun resist on top of the arc ratio. You are fairly tanky. You want to go for improved concentration aura. Yeah, not much to change around here. This is just a standard Holy build. So yeah, not really much to say about Holy. That's it. All right, Hunters. This is going to be your BM spec. I saw some people that wanted to go for BM into Survival. I don't think it's going to be good. I think Mortal Shots is just way too good. And also you lose out on Go for the Throat, which is pretty damn good for BM. Yeah, you'll just lose out on a lot of damage. But you got Disengaged now. This realistically is the only build you want to go for as a BM because that spec is purely based on damage. If you want to go into Survival, I would go for another tree. Obviously, this gives you the mounted movement speed, which is nice. Your pets get talents now, the Wrath of the Lich King talents, so they might get even stronger than TBC. And in TBC, pets were completely crazy. Also, you could take 1 point out of Ferocious Inspiration and put that point into Improved Min Pet. This has a 50% chance to cure 1 curse, magic, or poison on your pet. So if it's getting guided by a rogue, if it has Frost Nova, whatever, you can actually do something about it. Now, the next one, Survival. This is very deep Survival. You want to go for the Scatter Shot instead of Readiness. This build gives you a lot of damage from your bow. This is just an all-around good spec. You could take these out and go for this. You can do that if you don't like having 10% crit and expose weakness. And if you like your pet more. Now, it really depends on how good the pets are. And if they are that strong, why would you go for that build? Probably just go for BM. In Arena, you do want to go for this one because you want to stop the drinks. But we're not talking about Arena. We're talking about Open World. So this is what we'll go for. Now, this build, I think, is going to be your best build. This is the Marksmanship Survival Drain build. Here, you got Improved Stings. This is by far the best thing you have. This completely ruins Priests, even Druids, because this has basically a small Dispel protection. Obviously, having this and Silencing Shot, that moved down from the level 50 tier to the level 40 tier, which is 35 in Project Epoch. It's just crazy being able to go for Silence, Scatter, Mana Burns, Agility, all these things. It's crazy. Now, if you hate damage and you want to drop this and go for that, you can. But again, we're talking about Open World. So this is 2% crit and 15% agility for this. I would never fucking do that. All right. Now, we got Rogues. This is going to be your best build. This is just a plain and simple TBC build. Obviously with Poisoned Knife instead of Improved Exposed Armor. Yeah, you want this. You could take these 3 out and go for that. If you're playing solo PvP, it might not be too bad. Obviously this and this is very good. This is very good in Classic because you're doing a lot of open world. You want to be able to first aid or whatever. So this is probably something I would consider. So yeah, not a lot to change here apart from the Gouge and Wild Poisons. Yeah, so this is just a standard Hemo build with one-handers, not daggers, with Prep, Shadow Step. These talents here are just way too good to pass up in PvP, unfortunately, which makes the other specs not as good. People are excited about Mutilate. It looks cool. They increase the damage on Mutilate when your target's poisoned, but this is too good to pass on. So here's the Mutilate build. You can go Mutilate Sub, which is this. You could drop the Improved Gouge again for something different that you like. You could go for Ruthlessness. You could go for this. I'd probably just go for this. And I hope you're not going to be running Deadly Poison in PvP. That's not what you want to do. Rogue is all about CC, and Deadly Poison going to ruin your gouges and blinds. This, you could go for this, okay? The whole idea for a Mutilate Rogue is to be able to stay on the target. Without prep, you don't really have your CDs a lot. With this build, you got Endurance, which reduces the cooldown on sprint. And you can also sprint out of roots and hamstrings and whatever. Also, you will be able to disarm. However, everyone will probably have steel chain, so real PvPers will probably not get disarmed. And if you're not seeing the value in this, just take it out, swap it out. You could also go for this. Here you get increased damage on your offhand, but you do lose 20% increased damage on Mutilate. This kind of offsets it, but you don't have counterattack, but here you get your hit chance. So again, if you don't have any hit gear, this is definitely better for you. And we don't go for Ruthlessness. Obviously, you have Seal Fate. So combo points are not really an issue with this build. The standard builds that go for all the combo point generators, for example, Initiative, don't really need that. Realistically, these are the only things you should think about. Like these talents here, everything here, I wouldn't really change. Ruthlessness, don't need to. Kidney shot damage will get resisted a lot of the time, so might be wasted talent points. As strong as rogues are, everyone is going to have the orc racial in PvP. Rogues might be cooking, rogues might be fucked. Okay, now, priests. I've been a Shadow Priest main through and through, all the expansions. I will not be playing a Shadow Priest. They're just dog shit in TBC. Your best build as a priest is going to be this one. This is the aggro disc shadow spec. Yeah, the disc silence spec, if you will. You could drop out Shadow Weaving if you want and go for improved Mind Blast. Shadow Weaving is good for the spell protection, for your Shadow Word Pain. You got Healing Focus, you got Pain Suppression. Obviously, that's insane. That's in the 30 tier. So that actually changes things around a lot for a lot of specs. You got Focus Power for fast master spells, for bubbles. You got Focused Will, crazy good talent when you're getting trained. You go for Absolution because a lot of the time as a Disc Priest, you're going to be dispelling. So you got Mental Agility, Absolution, you'll save a lot of mana. And you got Silent Resolve. This one's an absolute must. Dispel protection on everything that you have. Both shadow spells and your shields, Renew, Prayer Mending. But yeah, like I said, this is going to be your best spec by a mile. The next one is the Smite spec. I wouldn't have put this in here, but I know a lot of people want to see it. I know a lot of people are excited about Smite spec. I would not put it in my top 3 strongest spec for priests, but I'm going to put it in here for people that want to play it. So you got Silent Resolve, you got 4 in that, Meditation. So obviously this is lacking a lot of healing. It's purely a smite, purely based on your smite DPS spec, basically. So it's lacking a lot of defensives. It's just doing smite damage, which is usually what people want. You could drop out Force Will and put more in Mental Agility and go for this. If you want to stay more defensive, you could go for this. And I would probably do this if I was doing the smite spec, but a lot of people want to see the numbers. And I understand that. So you could go for this. You could also go for Blackout if you don't want these in Focused Will. I think Blackout's still good. You're going to be using Mind Blast, Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Pain, even with this spec. So I think it's good. But I would probably go for this. But yeah, like I said, Smite Priest's not really going to be doing a lot. You know, depends. You're going to have to sit there and spam Smite and Holy Fire. No one's really going to let you do that. So yeah, what's good about this? Obviously, you get pushback reduction in your smites. I don't think this was hit there before, like in TBC. So if they change this, it's crazy good. This is the worst spec out of the 3, and I wouldn't have put this in here if not a lot of people didn't want to play it. Now, here's the Shadow spec. A lot of people might think, oh, he's not taking Vampiric Touch. Yes, there's no Dispel protection on it. It's not like Unstable Affliction. You're spending 1.5 seconds casting a dot that can be instant dispelled. Talk about a waste of time. I would never go for this because we have Pain Suppression in the 33 in this. Otherwise, you would always go for Vampiric Touch. In solo PvP, this is just not worth casting a lot of the time, if a rogue opens on you, good luck. Good luck casting this. Also, he's going to cloak it. You just want instant damage. You just want Shadow Word Pain. You want Mind Flay, Shadow Word Death, and Mind Blast, and you can get them off. So yeah, technically, if you're facing a melee, for example, you just want to use Shadow Word Pain and fish for blackout procs with Mind Flay. You could also go for this, for Shadow Power, and drop mana reduction on Mind Blast and Mind Flay, and drop Vampiric Embrace. If you really want to be able to crit with your Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death, but let's be honest, you won't be able to cast it that much. But if you want to have, if you want to have more fun, definitely go for that. To be honest, I probably would, even though this is probably better overall. Not much else to talk about here. This, I would say, is the best build you can go for. Now, the Elemental Shamans. They took away the only chance to get a pushback reduction on your casts. And I think that's going to be rough. If you have a pet attacking you, trying to cast, sucks. I don't see if they put it anywhere else. I've actually looked. I don't really see it. I might be blind. Maybe it's somewhere. Maybe it's baseline. But yeah, this is technically what you want to go for. You could drop this and go into whatever this is called. I go for this because you need 4% hit. You could drop this as well and go for Elemental Shields for less damage taken. Not everyone goes for Healing Focus. I like it. I like to be able to survive against pets. If you're casting the new ability, whatever it's called, Molten... What the fuck is it? Molten Blast. If you're casting the new ability, Molten Blast, and you get kicked on it, maybe it's time to press heal. You could drop it and go for Ancestral Healing for more armor with it. Could go for Healing Guidance for Dispel Protection. Could do a few things. Change things around if you don't like Healing Focus. This is more, like I said, this is more about solo PvP in the world. And I think this is going to be the best one. Convection. It's better than Unrelenting Storms. I personally wouldn't change anything here. Maybe here. But yeah, you can change things around. If you want to drop Nature Swiftness and go for Toughness and have instant Ghost Wolf, that's also a possibility. But obviously NS is very good. But Toughness is such a crazy talent. I can't stress it enough. It's such a crazy talent to go for. Resto goes for it, but you kind of need Nature Swiftness as Ellie. But Toughness is not bad. It's definitely not bad to go for that. And also, you get way more tanky, and you get instant Ghost Wolf. You get reduced cooldown on your Grounding Totem. But if it was me, I'd go for this. Now, enhancement. I'm sure a lot of people know about the two-handed elemental enhancement spec with Storm Strike and whatever this is called, Elemental Fury for shocks and stuff like that. You can because mental quickness makes it good, but it's probably not good. It's probably not obviously if you have a crazy good two-hander, sure, go for it. Now, you could go for the two-hander build. I don't think it deserves to be in the top 3. That's why I didn't put it. So, obviously you got the cooldown reduction on Grounding Totem, instant Ghost Wolf, just the basics, toughness, obviously, it's crazy. These two, here you go for 1 in hit because you got 3 here, so you're 5% hit. Weapon Specialization gives you 2% hit. Nature's Guidance gives you 3% hit on your melee and 3% on your ranged or spells. You get damage reduction from your Shamanistic Rage. So yeah, overall, this build is not really bad. I think it's pretty damn good. This is weird. I think like that, with this, people were talking about because now you can cast Lightning Bolt because it doesn't delay your auto attack. But this is such a PvE talent that I wouldn't really worry about this in PvP. Like you're never going to be like auto attacking and then casting your Lightning Bolt and letting the guy get away. This is useless. Also, you would have to go for Elemental to have the reduced casting time and whatnot. This is just your standard resto spec. You don't go for Mana Tide. Everyone kills Mana Tide. And now there's a PvE server and a PvP server. If you're on the PvP server, everyone knows to kill the Mana Tide, so it's useless. You don't go for Nature's Guardian. Think about how shit that talent is. It has a 50% chance to give you 10% of your health back. I mean, obviously it's good, but it's not as good as these talents here. These are just way too good to pass on. So Dispel Protection on your Earth Shield, Healing Focus, way too good. Ancestral Healing, way too good. Talon Mastery, way too good. Focused Mind, way too good for silences. Everything here is just way better than this. A 50% chance. If you had 5 more points, you would go for it. Resto gets toughness and Ghost Wolf. They can kite. They go for 5% dodge. And obviously, yeah, they're very tanky. They're very tanky. And if you play with a red paladin, even tankier. Oh, and also if you play with a red paladin or a paladin overall, you get concentration aura, 100% pushback reduction. Alrighty, Roo. That's the mage spec. Now, obviously, a lot of these talents that I'm putting is based on you having no hit. We don't know how the gear is going to look like. You might get a lot of hit from the gear. So you can take those hit points and swap them out for anything else. Obviously, you are getting cucked here. You can't get permafrost and improved blizzard. You could be putting those points elsewhere. This is for your counterspell. This is for your frost and fire spells. Let's get into mage. So this is your elemental spec, it's called. The fire frost spec. You don't have improved counterspell, which is kind of bad. That's the worst part about the spec. You got shatter as a fire mage. You got blazing speed, which is pretty fucking good. You got combustion, crazy good. Yeah, you can go for molten shields over here because you'll be able to reflect spells. So you can take out improved scorch and master of schools. But yeah, this spec is it's a lot of fun in solo PvP. You're not as tanky, but you have blazing speed, you have shatter, you have cold snap, you have the range on your frost bolts and improved blizzard. You're basically, if you know how to play a mage, or if you're very good at playing mage, this spec is a lot of fun. If you're not so good at playing mage, you just go for full frost. We go for this, arcane subtlety. It's a spell penetration basically. It's 10% spell penetration, which is crazy good. So yeah, this is your elemental spec. If you have hit rating, you could go for something like this. Obviously, I just did this now and it's not the exact build I'd go for, but this is with blazing speed and ice barrier. And you could definitely see this being the best flag carry build in Warzone Gulch. With ice barrier, with blazing speed, it's going to be, it was already annoying in Classic trying to catch a mage and a priest in Warzone Gulch. And yeah, this is definitely going to be the best build for Warzone Gulch flag carry or something along those lines. Here's the Palm Pyro build. I don't think you would change anything around here. Yeah, I was checking out this new talent. If your arcane intellect is dispelled or spell stolen, useless. So this is your Palm Pyro build. Problem with this build is you're just scorching. You're just waiting for your Palm Pyro. Obviously, the reason I put this here is because it's very powerful every 3 minutes. But between those 3 minutes, it's kind of shit. Yeah, the reason I didn't put full fire build is because this is very strong every 3 minutes. So yeah, I might be wrong here. I think the fire build's probably better if I think about it now, but you know, if people want to see the Palm Pyro build, here it is. Now that I mentioned that fire build, this is something it could look like. Obviously, I just put this up right now quickly. This is just an example. But you can go for shatter in the full fire build, and it's probably decent. But yeah, if I was playing the fire build, I'd probably go for the elemental build because you get more in permafrost, you get the range on your improved frostbolt, you get cold snap, all that jazz. So you're basically trading Dragon's Breath for all that. So it's up to you. And last but not least, the frost spec. This is just a standard frost spec. You would usually go for more in Winter's Chill, but it's just a dispel protection. It's very good for dispel protection, actually. If you have hit cap, you can drop these 2 and put in Winter's Chill. So 4 in Winter's Chill. You don't go for Empowered Frostbolt, you're using Ice Lance. So Frostbolt, spamming Frostbolt's probably not going to be good. And obviously you get 6% hit here. It's not ideal, but there's nowhere else to put the point, okay? I'm not going to put 1 in Arcane Missiles. Warlocks are going to be very good. You got Shadow Fury down here now. So this is the Shadow Bolt destruction spec. Now, the beauty about this spec is you got Shadow Fury down here. So you can actually go for Bane of Exhaustion. So you got a slow, which is pretty damn good with this build. You got Backlash for instant Shadow Bolts. You do go for Immolate and Conflagrate because why not? It's pretty damn good. You could drop these points. But with this build, you are relying a lot on Shadow Bolt. So I wouldn't drop it. With Fire, you can. But because you're using Nightfall, you're getting instant Shadow Bolts from that, and you're getting instant Shadow Bolts when you're getting attacked. Now, these are pretty damn good damage-wise, depending on how good Drain Soul is, because Drain Soul is now an execute. You can it does a lot of damage the lower health the target has. So these things might change around depending on how good it is, because this increases its damage and gives you mana back, and here you increase your damage with it. But you need a lot of dots for that to work, and with this build, you're not really going to be dotting a lot. So I probably wouldn't even go for this one, but I would definitely throw 1 point here if it's super good. And I would change something else, maybe the reach. Here's the fire build. This is a more realistic build. It's probably a better build as well, even though the other one's a lot of fun. Here you got, if your pet, you can sacrifice, like, look, if you go against Jesus. If you go against a warrior, you can go for Void Walker, sacrifice that one, and quick summon another one, sacrifice that one. That's what makes this so good. You got more health as well. Your Hellstone's gonna heal you more. Your pets don't die as fast. With this build, you're only relying on backlash for your incinerates. In PvP, you're not gonna be hard casting incinerate all the time, so you could go for this, Searing Pain. You could go for Searing Pain and throw the last two in Demonic Ages, for example. Now, the SL spec. If if Drain Soul is very good, this spec could be so crazy. And if it's very good, I would drop these two and go for this to increase its damage even more. But this just depends on, obviously, hit rating is 1. You can change that around. But this spec is just the god spec, basically, of TPC. And the only thing I see changing is it getting better because of Drain Soul. Drain Soul might make it disgusting, and they might nerf it. You got Nightfall for instant Shadow Bolts. You're just throwing dots around, being annoying, being a tank, resisting everything. Your pet barely can die. If it does, you just resummon it. Everyone knows the drill with SL. I didn't cover the Affliction because I don't think it's good in PvP. I just don't. I think the Shadow Destruction is just better. I think the Fire Destruction is better, and I think the SL is just way better. You could play around with Affliction, but just I would never put it in top 3. All right, Restaurazione. I think this is, obviously, I'm showing the healer specs. You're not going to be running around as a healer trying to solo PvP. You might, probably not good, but this is your go-to spec for a Resto Druid. You got this new talent here, which puts Rejuvenation on you, hopefully you, and your other target as well. If this sucks, you want to change Overgrowth for Subtlety, for Spell Protection. You could also change around if you don't want to use Feral Charge, which why wouldn't you? Because it's crazy good. You could change that around and go for more balance stuff, or even more Resto stuff if you're going to go deep Resto. Some people do. Some people want to do that. And yeah, realistically, if you're playing Resto Druid in PvP, you kind of know what you're doing. So you'd always go for Feral Charge. You could also change Feral Instincts and go for Thick Hide if you don't really care about doing your opener. I would probably go for this, but Feral Hide makes you quite tankier. But other than that, you don't really change much here. Now, the Balance Druid. Like I said, Overgrowth, if it sucks cock, you just throw that out and put it somewhere else. So this build is different from the TBC version. You don't even take Vengeance and Moon Fury in the TBC version. Apparently, if I remember correctly, Moon Fury is just your base damage, so this talent is kind of dog shit. But I could be wrong. Vengeance, obviously, very good if you can sit there and cast. But like I said, this is for solo PvP. If you're going arena, I probably wouldn't take these two. And I'd go for more of a healing build, like more into healing. But since we're doing solo PvP, we want damage. That's fun. Also, if you don't really care about Nature Swiftness and you want to have fun with Treants and more damage even, with whatever this is called, Wrath of Cenarius, you can just change things around. Just drop these things, go into Feral Charge, for example, and have Treants. But you're very squishy. Like this has the spell protection on your Moonfire and Insect Swarm. This has the spell protection on your Roots. This has the spell protection on your Life Blooms and Heals. It's just probably better. But yeah, if you're going for Treants, I would probably go for Feral Charge. Not much else to talk about on balance. I just don't think balance is going to be that good. It can be very good in arena, but you wouldn't go for these two. You play with a rogue, typical dream state build with more of a healing playstyle, and then play Moonkin form with that. And here's the feral one. I think this is pretty standard. Not much to change around here. This is just a standard feral build. You wouldn't go for anything else unless you really love Ferocious Bite. And if they buff Ferocious Bite, then you might want to go for this. You got 10% more damage here. You got mana reduction on your shapeshifts, energy when you go into your forms and rage, which you need for feral charge and that. You would never change anything here, realistically. So that's it for the video, guys. If you disagree with something that I spoke about today, put it down in the comments and let's have a discussion about it. Also, if you have some cool builds, put it down in the comments, let me know. If you liked the video, put a thumbs up and please subscribe. Thank you for watching.